welcome back to the Coruscant Knights podcast. I'm Cooper. This is Mark.
Hello there.
Joining us online is Jack.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us for our first episode of 2024, where we will be looking ahead at the year in Star Wars. We did a similar video at the start of 2023, so we're going to do it
I
again for
reckon
this
there'll be
year.
a lot to unpack.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So before we get into some of our different topics of discussion, I'm just going to go over the list of shows and projects that are coming out this year. So we've got The Acolyte, The Bad Batch Season 3, Tales of the Jedi Season 2, Skeleton Crew, Star Wars Outlaws, the new console game, and then Andor Season 2 is a maybe. We're not 100% sure on that yet. We'll find out probably towards the end of the year. But that's the list of projects we've got, like main projects we've got coming this year. And so my first question to you guys, and the ones we'll discuss, is what is your most anticipated project of 2024? Jack, we'll start with you.
Interesting. So most anticipated, I would have to go with actually surprisingly Skeleton Crew. So the reason why I say this is I
Right.
do think it's a bit of I think it's going to be overlooked before we see anything. Like I think currently people like what is this? It's not really relevant to any of like past characters kind of thing. We don't know really much about it. However, I think it could be like a fun type. I've heard that people explaining it is kind of described as like a Goonies for Star Wars, which is great. It's like a treasure hunting, kind of exploring, kind of fun,
Yeah,
comedic, but not like cheesy one-liners.
I've seen it described as a coming of age story.
Yeah, which is like that too. So that's like exactly that type of vibe. So I don't know. I feel like it's going to be like a bit of a hidden gem that I think might actually be one of the better ones. And I know it's probably not the most, probably generic kind of answer, but I really do think it's going to be pretty good. So yeah,
I hope you're right.
most anticipated. I hope so too.
Well, for me, honestly, I think going off the trailer that just released for Bad Batch, I think out of the four shows that are pretty much confirmed to come out this year, I'm gonna have to say Bad Batch because that trailer actually was so good. Like Palpatine's back, Captain Rex. Like I can't wait to see what actually happens. I mean, I said in our reaction, there's no plot, but then I remembered, oh wait, they're looking for Omega. So it'll be interesting to see how they go about it, and I want to see if there's any other major things that happen. Obviously, with some characters returning as well.
Absolutely.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Um, that's definitely an exciting project for sure. Got a kind of that transition from the Clone Wars into now
Yep,
A New Hope that's
exactly.
kind of becoming a bit thinner. The bridge between them is getting thinner, which is good.
Mm.
I've gone a different route.
Mhm.
My most anticipated project for 2024 is The Acolyte. Now, I gotta say, I was planning a
Mhm.
whole video on this, but I'm not going to do it anymore. But I just love the prospect of Star Wars now moving outside of the Skywalker saga timeline. I think that there's so
Mhm.
much opportunity and so much freedom to create a really interesting story. They're not bound by having to have cameos or like legacy characters that dictate how the story is supposed to go. It's set 100 years before the Phantom Menace. The only linking character between like that time period and the prequel trilogy is Yoda.
I was about to
So
say, do you think he'll be in it?
we are. I would say he would
He would
feature
he
in it
would
at
have to
least.
be in it at some point because he's, the Grand Master.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'm so excited for it. I know there's been a bit of controversies around the series in pre-production and filming, but from everything that I've heard, the cast seem very enthusiastic about what they were filming. The showrunner, Leslie Headland, again, controversial, but I think that if the actors are correct in what they're saying about her, I think she's been very passionate and she's come up with a story that's really going to impress us. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And that's why it's my most anticipated.
that's good. I think it has
Mm.
potential. Like I
Interesting.
think I like the idea of the setting, like you said, in the High Republic. So I think they've got good potential. I just, like you said, there's been a bit of controversy. I just hope it doesn't,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll find out. Let's do
Mm.
our least anticipated project. Mark, do you
I
want to start us
think
off?
I will because I think that's pretty much what I was just saying with Acolyte. I don't know. Would I say that's my least anticipated or say Skeleton Crew? Because I don't know anything about really what either of them are going to be about. Like all I've heard is Acolyte is a High Republic show, and Skeleton Crew is a coming of age story set in the same time period as Mando. So I can't decide. I'm not really excited for either at the moment. So it's kind of hard to say. I think once we see some trailers or some more information drop, I think that will change pretty soon.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Interesting.
Jack, do you want to?
Uh yeah, here we go. So least anticipated. Well, it's between two things. The thing is, I would have to go with the one I'm going to pick because I will explain why. I'm going to have to go with Bad Batch. Mainly, I was going to toss up between Outlaws because it's a game. However, I don't think you can really compare the same, like they're not the same thing at all. And like a game enjoyability, it could have nothing to do with the story or anything. It's just about how fun it is, right? But so I'm more excited to play a game in that sense. That's the only reason why it's kind of over Bad Batch. And the reason why is Bad Batch season two left me on a bit of a very bland taste. I really was not a fan of it. Animation and everything was perfect as always. However, the characters didn't do it for me. The plot was not relevant. It wasn't even there in my opinion. There was just nothing.
I completely
And it
agree
is
with that.
honestly and it's like, well, it's just like the family kind of clones, right? They're the outliers. However, I am sick of Disney going for these kind of like, oh, look at all these mixed characters who band together because they all are friends and they consider each other as family. Like it's even with Mandalorian and Grogu, they've always had these kind of like now with Echo, or even Obi-Wan with Leia, they always have like these kind of family kind of like what's it called ties to all these kind of shows and projects, and I just want something serious, grounded, which some of the trailer did show that with obviously the Emperor and even Asajj Ventress obviously showing up. So it might be better than I like I'm thinking of it now. However, I'm really not looking forward to it because it just hasn't done it for me. Like I've given it so many chances and it still hasn't delivered. So
Fair
yeah.
enough. Fair enough.
Valid
Mm.
points, valid points.
Although we do disagree,
Yeah.
Mark and I. Yeah. All right. I am going with Star Wars Outlaws, the game. I have no interest in playing it at all. They've marketed it as an open world game, which I mean, cool. We haven't had that in Star Wars either ever or for a while. But it just doesn't look like anything I would be interested in. It looks just like a generic shooter game set in Star Wars. I can't get on
Huh.
with that. So that's my opinion. I'm
It's
just not looking forward to it.
It's funny you say that though, because considering how Survivor really didn't improve on anything from Fallen Order, those two would have felt like the most generic, like, oh, climb here. You have to
Yeah.
break a
Yeah.
bridge to go there. I was like, with this open world one, I just feel like there's more possibilities. It's even got a wanted system from the Empire, sort of like GTA in that sense. So I just feel like if it is done correctly and it's what they say it's going to be, then phew, you know what I
So
mean? But most likely because they're gonna fail it. But you know,
I've got no basis. So I obviously played Fallen Order and then loved it, and then Survivor. Don't need to talk about Survivor, but I obviously really Cal Kestis is my favorite character for a reason. So I had a reason to play the second game besides just the gameplay.
yeah.
There's no reason to care about this character. I don't know them. They're not a Jedi. They're just a random bounty hunter. It's like there's
But a
no
Jedi doesn't need to.
flaw in that.
But a Jedi doesn't need to be the reason to play a game. For example, I don't like Cal Kestis, but I still play it because it's Star Wars. I think
I
that's
know.
where I'm getting at.
It's
Because it's
just
Well,
Star
for
Wars.
me,
Yeah.
when it comes to Outlaws, I don't know because like you said, with Survivor, it's just a lot of climbing and running and going in a linear path to get to the other end, and it takes like half an hour. And I can't get into the
Yeah.
game because it just takes too long and it's boring in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Exactly.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I would just want to go on with the story, but it takes too long to like go
Yep.
across the whole map. So Star
Yeah.
Wars games have been pretty good so far, but like I said with Survivor, it got a bit boring. So I'm just hoping Outlaws
Mhm.
it's a lot better. And like you said,
Yep.
I think it's going to be more actually open world than Survivor is.
okay.
Mm.
Fair enough.
100%. Yeah.
Shall we move to our Dark Horse project? The one that we think will go
Mm.
under the radar, but will
Yes.
be a hidden gem, or one that will just we think will do really well, that maybe people aren't expecting to do
Mm.
well. You guys
Mhm.
right if I start?
Go. Go for it.
Yeah. So I've gone Skeleton Crew. I think that I've seen the cast, and I think obviously most of them are kids, but I think that they look like they could do a good job. I don't know, I haven't seen them act, but they look like they could be good actors. Jude Law, I think, is a brilliant actor as well, so I think he's obviously going to be the main star in this show. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm not purely genuinely interested in the story. I will watch it because
Mm.
they've obviously put a lot of effort into this series, but just from an outside perspective, without any public footage, I think, okay, this could be something pretty cool. It could introduce some obviously it'll introduce some new characters. It'll expand on the lore and the time period. It'll kind of weave its way into the Mandoverse stuff. So I'm very, very interested to see what they do with this series and what its actual purpose and function is. Because with every other project, at least it's been following a legacy character or telling a new part of the Star Wars timeline. This really doesn't seem to fit into a purpose-filled purpose, I guess.
Yep, I agree with
Yeah,
that.
interesting. Mm.
Jack, do you want to share your one?
Yeah, so I think it's gonna be Tales of the Jedi because I think not that like I it's a bit of weird to put as a dark horse because I'm very confident it'll be good. It's more that I feel like, for example, Tales of the Jedi season one, I feel like no one really talks about it that much, and it was really good. Like the same sort of anthology kind of thing as Clone Wars, same animation, just more crispier. And it's interesting to film the kind of the backstories with these random oh, not random Jedis, but like Jedis that we don't get to see much of throughout the movies. And I think it's a dark horse for the fact that it's more underappreciated, and I think that this one will be even better than the first season because I feel like the first season, in my opinion, lacked in the Ahsoka bits because we've already had so much Ahsoka that I feel like I just wasn't as engaged with it aside like apart from like the Dooku kind of aspect of it. So I think season two of Tales of the Jedi will explore more unique types of Jedis. I'm hoping, like even I know this is going to be very out there, but like even like a Coleman Trevor or like a Plo Koon or something.
Oh,
Just
I would say
Quinlan
Plo
Voss.
Koon.
Yeah.
Yeah, just some random, and I'm hope that if it does well, that they consider doing it like a Tales of the Sith, to get more of them because I feel like we say it time and time again, the Star Wars franchise really hates to like put us in the perspective and kind of on the side of the villains. I know for obvious reasons. However, us as the viewers don't need to be agreeing like of them. It's interesting to see their side of it more than from the side always of the
And
goodies. So
on that point,
seeing,
I mean, how good was it in Andor, seeing like the ISB and that sort of thing?
yeah, but that's more political. That's not really what I like. You want to see more of like, for example, for season two of Ahsoka, you want to see more Thrawn. You want to see the villains. Empire is the villains, but they're a whole collective. You know what I mean? They're not one particular person in that kind of sense. But I think Tales of the Jedi season two will be a dark horse for sure. Mm.
Right.
Well, Jack, I think you've taken the words right out of my mouth because you've said almost everything I was going to say. I was going to say Tales of the Jedi. Season one was fantastic. It's underappreciated. And the reason I think
Mm.
season two is going to be a dark horse is because I think it's going to fly under the radar. I don't think
Mm.
a whole lot of people watched season one, and I don't think a whole lot of people are going to watch season two. But I think, like you said,
Yeah.
I think it's going to go really well. I think they're going to continue the trend of season one. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think
Mm.
that'd be the dark horse.
I'm
Yeah.
actually
100%. Mm.
I'm interested to see when we will get Tales of the Jedi season two because I feel
Mm.
like all of the projects that have been filmed at least or animated, I feel like they're all probably in their last stages of post-production. So it's just when are they going to release it? What's the timeline going to be? Obviously,
Yeah.
the first piece of the puzzle with the
Mm.
Bad Batch that's coming, but we don't know when the other two are coming. So, oh, three.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
Mm.
Let's do our favorite one, our biggest potential to go wrong. Mark, start us off.
Okay. Well, I think I don't have a lot to base it on at the moment, but I think it's the Acolyte because, as me and Cooper have already said, they've got such a good opportunity in like the time period with the High Republic. We haven't really seen a whole lot from this period, and I think there's a lot of potential with all the kinds of Jedi and seeing all sorts of great fights and force powers. But there's been some controversy with the pre-production and everything. So I'm just hoping that they keep it as a Star Wars show. They have good quality writing, good quality action. I want a good quality show, and that's it.
Can I go next, Jack?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. So you brought up, I agree with you. I've gone biggest potential to go wrong is the Acolyte. Um, the writing is the biggest issue for
Yeah,
me. I don't know if you guys saw, but they released the writers per episode. Some episodes were getting up to five writers, five main writers, and each episode has a different selection of writers. And I know in making a video for it, which I'm not going to release anyway, um, the showrunner Leslie Headland, she got people in the room. She got a writer's room combined of people who love sequel trilogy, original trilogy, animated stuff, prequels, and people who don't like Star Wars.
I
She
don't.
got people from every single facet of the Star Wars community slash not Star Wars community and put them together.
I can't understand why you would get someone who
I
doesn't like
just
Star Wars
I
to write for it.
I don't think it's going to be a very well written series. I'm more interested in seeing the content on the screen because it's a new like era for Star Wars and it's a new part and time in the galaxy. I'm more interested in exploring what's happening during that time rather than what the characters are saying. But yes, I agree. Massive
And
potential to go wrong for this
with
series.
multiple writers, like it just makes me think, how many times have I said on the podcast, what were they thinking? What were they thinking with episode 7, 8, and 9, not not cooperating with each other, with
Mm,
Ryan Johnson and J.J. Abrams not collaborating and writing, changing the story
yep.
middle of the sequel trilogy, and then J.J. having to come in with a horrid number 9 that I think could have been a lot better
Mm,
if Ryan Johnson hadn't gone off of his plans. I mean, have you seen the interview with Adam Driver recently? How he was saying that Kylo
yeah.
Ren was meant to be the opposite of Darth Vader in his arc. He was meant to
Mm,
start kind of
mm,
iffy on good side and bad side, and by 9 he was meant to be an extremely evil, like super
mm,
villain essentially. But obviously
yeah.
that's not what happened. He had kind of a wonky character arc, and then there was the whole Raylo
Yeah.
we won't get into. So I just hope that the writers collaborate and they do a good job and they work as one.
Oh man, I am so ready to already diss this show. Here we go. Why would they choose a show to introduce a whole new part of the franchise? They're talking about the High Republic. We've only had behind me, behind Grogu, books from the High Republic, and you're going to introduce it in a Disney Plus show. What is happening? No, it's going to be cringy fight scenes. It's going to be over the top dialogue that just makes no sense. It is going to be atrocious. I'm telling you, it. There is no hope. The behind the scenes photos of the guy from Squid Game in that Jedi outfit just looks goofy as heck. It's just goofy. It's like me cosplaying in Comic Con. It just looks cheesy. I am so adamant it's not going to be good. And if it is good, then I'll eat my words. I don't care. I do not care because honestly, this show just doesn't like. Yeah, of course I want to see stuff from like before the Skywalker saga and stuff. Why are they going with High Republic? We have Old Republic stuff for years, and you're going with the unknown, like Disney-fied everything. Like, why can't you just go to the actual Sith who created the Rule of Two and Darth Revan, who was like the original like under like kind of battling light and dark, and so you're going with the Wookiee Jedi and some random bozos holding a lightsaber. Honestly, I am fathom that they decided to go with a low budget, like, well, still high budget, but like you're going with a TV show format to introduce a whole new part of the not Skywalker, whole Star Wars franchise. It's like introducing the prequel trilogy in a Disney Plus show.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
why would that just no, just no. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I'm so hesitant. I've never been so adamant that a show to fail as this one. Because like they have no structure to go off. There's like a few books some of them were a bit and some of them were just too over the what's it called? Too over the top in terms of like so much loaded dialogue with not a lot of plot or a lot of like transition scenes and stuff. So I'm just like, really, they're going to introduce a whole new thing. And as you said about the writers, how have you got so many writers and like on one episode alone for a whole series? And then you also, and as Mark said, Why would you have someone who doesn't like Star Wars? It's good to get alternate perspectives, maybe from people who like sequels, for example, but why from some people who don't even like the franchise as a whole?
especially as
That's
a
just a
writer.
recipe for disaster. Yeah, like
They,
as a writer, that's almost more important than the directors.
yeah, they can say what they
So
think.
like, yeah,
They can say what they think might attract non-Star Wars viewers, but I don't think they should be writing the episode and putting what the story
intended for that.
is, making the story what it is. I
Yeah,
don't think you should have
yeah.
non-fans writing. It doesn't make any sense at all.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so honestly, in entirely, I'm just thinking it's gonna be like baseball bats from Obi-Wan, really flat and plain cinematography with really cheesy dialogue. It's just the lightsabers are gonna look like just a beam of light rather than something like actually realistic, like it kind of does in like even the prequel trilogy, even sequel trilogy. They look realistic, right? But with all these Disney Plus lightsaber ones, they just look like it looks like a toy.
I'm
Like
expecting
what?
a lot of Jedi and a lot of lightsabers in this show. If this show is, I feel like going to be heavily lightsaber based. If there are baseball bats, I can't, I wouldn't be able to watch the show. Like,
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I,
I'm gonna be
I'll
honest.
still
I'm
watch it,
really
but it's going to be so hard to watch. Like, if there's going to be tons of Jedi and they're using baseball bats, it was hard enough to get through Obi-Wan
honestly.
with just him.
This is probably the one project aside from like those sequel movies that I have been most hesitant about. Like, wow. Like, I'm so like, this could either be like the greatest thing since sliced bread or it's going to be hot garbage, like utter sewer trash. Like, honestly, I'm so hesitant, like,
Like,
to the max.
all of the negatively connotated adjectives today. That's
Oh,
hilarious.
let's hope we're wrong. Let's hope
Yeah.
we're all wrong.
Yeah. All right.
I really want to be proven wrong.
Yep.
I really do.
All right. Well,
I
let's
mean,
hope.
look at Grogu's face. He himself can't stand it.
All right.
Send them around.
I think we should finish off with some of our bold predictions for
Mm.
the year. Maybe we'll go around the room, one each,
Yep.
and then maybe a second if we have a
hmm
second. I'll start. And since we're on the topic of the Acolyte, I feel like I should mention this. The Acolyte will be the best project in years, and complainers suddenly love Leslie Headland.
So you're gonna think your bold
Mhm.
prediction
Yep.
is it'll be better than Andor.
Yeah, I said it would be one of the best projects in
Oh, I
years.
thought you said
And/or
the best.
nope. It is the best project in years.
Oh,
So you think it'll be better
that
than?
is
I said in years. I didn't say
Oh, well,
specifically up to
Andor
Andor.
was.
Yeah, all right, fine. Better than Andor. I don't care. Yep,
That's a claim.
that is a claim, but hey, it's a bold claim. I'm
we'll
excited
play
for
this. We'll
it.
play. Yeah, we're gonna play this clip when it comes out and everyone loves it, and then it's gonna be perfect. You're
Yeah.
gonna call it.
Cooper was right
Hey,
all along,
well,
guys.
you last year, Jack, you had plenty of calls about The Mandalorian season 3 being absolute dog water. So, I mean,
Yeah,
this is what we do
who
this for.
knows?
This is what we do
It's
this for.
possible.
It is
It's
possible.
possible.
Yeah. Mark, do you want to show one?
Yes, I my bold prediction is that the Bad Batch will do very well, and I'm basing that off the trailer that just released. Again, I've said that before, but season two, as much as I liked it, I still got to agree with Jack. There wasn't really an actual plot. I felt like almost every episode I was saying, "This is filler. This is a season of filler, and it's not really leading to anything." But the trailer that's released for season three, and also the fact that it's going to be the final season, I feel like there is going to have to be stuff that happens. So I'm not really
Mm,
thinking there's going to be filler. So I think that the show is actually going to do really well.
Cool.
nice. I like it. I like it. I've only got one, so if we do go for twos, I'm not gonna have any. But this one here is not really about any of the projects coming out as such. It's more of I reckon that there's going to be a big announcement towards the end of the year that a whole new trilogy is obviously they've announced that new trilogy, but I feel like they're going to have a whole new trilogy name with like titles like they did with Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty. Well, obviously I don't know about that anymore, but I think they're going to have a whole trilogy announced. That's not the Ray one with titles for all three of them be announced at the end, and it's going to be hyped. It's going to be very good. I hope.
Wow. That would actually be very high. That'll be very good.
Yeah, that'll be crazy. That'd be crazy.
That's a bold prediction.
I did have a second one. I was going to say that I reckon that I was tossing it up between my head. I think I'm going to say The Acolyte will get a trailer at the Super Bowl this year. So that'll be in Feb. Actually, in like a
I
week.
think that's
I know
yeah. I think that would be
the
pretty
Bad Batch one, but I don't know. I think we could get good one. They would it'd be a missed opportunity if they didn't.
so
Like
many people watch them. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
All right, here's one of
100%.
them. My bold prediction for Skeleton Crew is that it's not gonna do super well, but it's not gonna do bad. I think it's gonna be one of those middle of the range shows because there's not much that we know about it, and there's no characters in it that we know of. The only thing it's got going for it, really, I feel like, is its connection to Mando and Ahsoka or whichever other shows it's meant to be connected to. So I'm interested to see how it turns out, but I have this feeling that it's going to be kind of a mid-range show. So not bad, but not one of the ones that we'll be raving about. I hope I'm wrong
Okay,
again.
Mark, I've got a question. I've got a question for you then in response to that. What
Okay.
would you consider from the Star Wars franchise already, middle of the range, like middle range? What's your middle range?
I would say like one of the Mando seasons. 3 was bad, 2 was pretty decent, and 1 was really good.
Wait, so you're saying, wait, no, so what's middle of the range then? Because season 1 and 2 I thought
I
were
think it
unreal, and then 3 was hot garbage.
won't be as good as say Mando season 1 or Andor, but it'll be better than Mando season 3.
That's a big
Okay, well, so good. So just a good
Middle
show
of the
then.
range. That's exactly what I
All right.
said.
Because my response to that is I think Star Wars is either really good or just hot trash. Like in terms of the like not I'm talking about
Oh,
the franchise. I'm talking about like the
I would
shows and
say
stuff that they've
I
released. It's
would
either
say
really
that
good or bad.
Ahsoka was pretty middle of the range, but probably a little bit better than middle of the range. But it's pretty close to the
Well,
middle. It's not
I would,
one that I love. It's not
I
one
would,
that I hate.
true. I would think Obi-Wan is below mid because I
Yes.
don't think like the last episode can really carry that. And Ahsoka, I think actually, yeah, there we go. To me, there we go. I said that there's no middle. I think Ahsoka is middle for me, and that's the only. I think that's the only one I can say that's
I
middle
think I
for
think
that. So
Skeleton
yeah,
Crew would be on
valid.
sort of that level-ish.
Well, that'll be okay then. I'll still appreciate that because you don't everything that doesn't need to be a masterpiece. It's just we don't want it to be really bad.
Hmm.
Like you just don't want bad stuff. Middle of the range is still fine. And I think people forget that too. That there's a reason why it's called the middle. Average is not bad. Average is still
Average.
good. You know what I
Average
mean?
is
Not
it's the
everything needs to be perfect.
yeah.
And I think
well,
people got to start realizing that, especially for Marvel.
people think average means bad. Average is
Mm.
average.
But to be fair, I feel like if you're creating a show, you don't want it to be just
You
average.
don't want it to be, but I have a feeling it's going to
No,
turn
you don't
that way.
want it to be, but yeah, exactly. Nothing is perfect. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure Marvel didn't want, all their things to be considered mid in the recent times, but like, that's the thing. People are calling it mid, but mid's still not that bad. If
Yeah.
you're calling something mid, that's just middle. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
then if you really don't like it, call it trash. You know what I mean? But for example, if you're saying it's average, then why are you complaining? It's still like at least something to enjoy at some points and watch. You know what I mean? If you're considering it average, you still had an all right time with it. You know what I mean? So no, yeah.
Alrighty. I think that brings us to the end of the episode. The first one back for
Mm.
2024.
Yep.
If you've liked this video or this podcast and you're watching on YouTube, give it a like. Make sure to subscribe as well. We'll have plenty of exciting podcast reactions, episode breakdowns throughout the year. So the only way you'll be notified about them is if you subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, feel free to give us a rate and follow us on there as well. And also, we're all, across the social media board. You'll find us on every single social media platform. Go follow us on there if you feel like. But that's all from us for this week, and we will see you next week for our next podcast.
See you later,
See
everybody.
ya.
Thank you.
Yeah.